Tonight, the Greens demand a royal commission into the administration of water in New South Wales. And the state government drops its case against the company behind a massive gas pipeline rupture which crippled parts of the mid-north.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. The New South Wales Greens have hit out at the state government over failures in water compliance and enforcement along the Darling River. A report from the state's Ombudsman claims compliance is rotten to the core, with the Greens now renewing their calls for a royal commission.
Since 2006, the New South Wales Ombudsman has completed 3 investigations into water compliance and is now conducting a 4th.
We've had fresh disclosures from people who work in the government agencies and also complaints, and so we're doing a fresh investigation.
Last year it was contacted by several water department staff who raised concerns about its performance. Among the allegations were the department's strategic investigation unit being scaled down, a lack of action over unlicensed dams, and systemic failures by management to do anything about non-compliance.
We're going to get further evidence on what the compliance and enforcement effort is, and so I expect that we will have our final report out in March or April next year.
Soon after the progress report was released, the Greens came out swinging.
The progress report from the New South Wales Ombudsman shows that this government and the administration of water in this state is rotten to the core.
The party says a royal commission is the best option to sort out all allegations and investigate them thoroughly and independently.
Enough is enough. We need a royal commission and we need the government to get out of the way so we can actually have a proper administration, proper management of the Darling River that ensures that Broken Hill gets the water it needs, farmers get a fair share and the environment is looked after.
Local water activists agree.
Once that started, I'm sure you'd find a lot more going on than what's been reported so far. I have no doubt that it's only the tip of the iceberg.
Patrick Roenke, Southern Cross News.
Epic Energy will no longer have a case to answer over the 2015 gas pipeline rupture near Port Pirie, which disrupted supplies to the region. The state government had taken them to court earlier this year, but yesterday it dropped the charges. John Hunt has more.
The April 2015 gas pipeline rupture near Port Pirie crippled supplies right across the Upper Spencer Gulf. In August, it was revealed the state government had accused Epic Energy of failing to properly maintain its gas pipelines and had taken the company to court. The company confirmed in 2015 the pipeline at Gladstone, west of Port Pirie, had sustained stress corrosion cracking. It was caused by a number of factors, including soil conditions, temperature and pressure on the pipe. The rupture caused supplies to be cut off, affecting businesses, homes and the Port Pirie and Whyalla hospitals. The state government accused the company of failing to meet safety standards, claiming it could have prevented the incident by conducting maintenance in December 2014. Government lawyers were seeking up to $120,000 in damages. The company vigorously denied the accusations, claiming it had data to prove it wasn't at fault. 3 months on from the initial hearings, it'll no longer face prosecution. The Advertiser reported yesterday afternoon the government dropped the charges against the energy supplier. Government lawyers asked the court for leave to withdraw the charges, saying Epic had agreed not to ask for costs. The magistrate agreed to the request, and the case is now considered over. Epic Energy declined to comment, saying it would not be making a statement on the case. It means this long-running issue has finally drawn to an end, at least for now.
Port Lincoln has recorded a spike in food poisoning cases over the last year. It's prompted health professionals to urge the public to be mindful of food safety after the number of bacteria poisoning cases doubled in the last 12 months.
You just need to be wary of what you're preparing and if it's something that's to be cooked from raw, to make sure it gets above 75 degrees so that it kills the nasty bacteria that are there.
The message comes during National Food Safety Week, which aims to raise awareness about the dangers of preparing food incorrectly. Kadena's CBD redevelopment is making strong headway, with the first stage of the massive upgrade almost complete. Next week we'll see work shift to improving the appearance of Goyder Street, with new lights and seating to be installed.
Growing Kadena from the inside out. The finishing touches are being laid down on stage 1 of Kadena's CBD redevelopment.
Putting the black asphalt down So this will create the new car parks that will sit on the edge of town and hopefully feed all the customers into the main streets.
Tradesmen are busy working day and night with hopes it'll send people flocking to the newly developed town. The second stage of beautifying Goyder Street will begin next week, with new pedestrian footpaths to be paved.
That we'll see the nice new pavers, the trees, the seating, new lights. So the pretty parts that the community's been waiting for years will start to be rolled out from Monday.
There'll be a few roadworks to look out for around the area next week too. Works on moving the highway over will also commence so Kadena can grow within its own boundaries.
We're actually going to start on Monday to move the Copper Coast Highway to the south, and that will create 2 new commercial allotments as well.
As for when it will be done,
the project is looking to be all completed by the middle of next year, so we've got a really crazy 6 or 7 months ahead of us.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Broken Hill has been hit with some wet and wild weather as a small thunderstorm blanketed the city. Heavy downpours last night flooded streets with well over 10 millimetres falling across the day yesterday, making for a wet commute for local motorists. Wind gusts reached 50 kilometres an hour, but luckily there were no reports of damage throughout town. Broken Hill only reached 23 degrees today, but it's expected to be back in the 30s by Sunday. After the break, the Windmill Warriors working to create a tourist attraction on the West Coast. That's next. The Whyalla Show Society is looking for more dedicated people to join its committee and help organise next year's event. Its president has warned that if the positions aren't filled, the future of the 40-year-old event could be doomed.
It's Whyalla's biggest event, attracting thousands of people to the city each August for a mix of fun, entertainment and competition. Surprisingly, it's only organised by a small group of 22 people, who give their time to ensure the great tradition continues.
Involved in making decisions for the show, coming to committee meetings once a month for about an hour and a half, some working bees, and then also helping us set up the show and run the show.
However, the committee is battling to secure numbers. 6 positions need filling at the Show Society's AGM. Ms Pond says while their mantra is the show must go on, they won't be able to unless they have the numbers needed.
This makes it a lot harder on everyone else. Eventually, our committee are going to say it is too hard. We don't want that to happen. We want the town to really step up.
Organisers say discontinuing the show would be a huge blow for the community.
It is the biggest event that we have at the moment. It would be a huge crush for the town to lose something like the Whyalla Show.
The AGM will be held at the show office next Tuesday night. John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Havelaar Resources has handed all day-to-day management of its Portia gold mine to a Broken Hill mining company. Consolidated Mining and Civil will take full operational control of the gold mine north of the town. Havelaar will retain ownership of the processing plant and will now focus on its copper growth strategy. The mining company expects to receive a steady gold revenue stream from the Portia mine, which could potentially last until early 2019. A small town on the state's west coast is turning heads by returning windmills to their former glory. The Penomet Windmill Farm has now become a major tourism attraction since opening last year.
It's the Outback Museum that's taking a town for a spin.
Put the idea together, I guess, over a few beers, and yeah, it's just grown from there. There's been a lot of community help and whatever, so yeah.
A windmill farm at Penong on the far west reach of our state has become a place of restoration for old and broken down windmills.
It's getting the tourists to stop at the town, whereas before they would just zoom straight through, but now they stop here and maybe stay a night at the caravan park or get a coffee from the roadhouse or something from the general store. So yeah, it's great for the town.
Tourists and photographers making Penong a pit stop just to take a glimpse.
I think it's beautiful. I love a good old-fashioned windmill. I think they photograph very pretty, and when you see them in the country, they just look beautiful.
But it's not just the travellers who are taking notice.
A lot of people are ringing up now to donate. I mean, I had a letter only on Monday from near Ballarat in Victoria. A bloke wants to donate us a mill. So the word's out there. They're all over Australia now, and we've got to find time to go and get them.
The town's love affair with preserving farming history has its challenges, but volunteers, known as the Windmill Warriors, say each new addition brings with it its own personality.
Most of them leak a bit of oil, and whatever, you normally come back and you're fairly covered in grease and oil. So yeah, not that romantic.
They're good. They've all got their own little bloody, what's the word, little squeak and a moan and a groan, and yeah.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
An annual fireworks display will once again light up Port Augusta's skies come December thanks to the generosity of big business. It comes after Council announced last week it wouldn't be able to fund the tradition due to cost-saving measures.
Port Augusta's fireworks display has long hailed the end of the pageant and the beginning of the festive season in town. But in the name of saving costs, Council said this year would be an exception.
We've got some cost issues we want to deal with. We want to bring rates down, the overall rating pressure down over a long period of time, as well as also bringing debt and deficit down on the organisation. So the only way you can do that is to cut costs.
Council is set to save $10,000 on this year's community party, but festive season lovers need not be alarmed. Alinta Energy once funded the fireworks, and now Port Augusta's newest big businesses have saved the day. Max Cranes and Solar Reserve have teamed up to continue the Christmas spirit.
Sort of ironic in a way, they've filled a void that's being created by Alinta Energy in more ways than one.
Port Augusta's Max Cranes told Southern Cross News it would be delighted to help fund the fireworks, which will light up the sky here on the boat ramp.
I think they are important because you've still got to function, you've still got to create a positive vibe, and people want to feel good, look good, etc. So they are important things to have.
The fireworks display and community party is on December 10. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
In the news ahead, one local young girl's dream sees her hard work entered into Paris Fashion Week. That's next. Local artists in Port Augusta are being given the chance to share their work with the world. Fiberspace artists from our region are putting together quilted squares alongside those from Russia and Namibia before they're put on show in a gallery in Finland.
The Margin to Margin project connects artists from all over the world.
And it really is creatively amazing because everyone's so different in what they can do, and really encouraging that what you do is good.
We've been together now for 4 years, working this way, so we know each other fairly well too, but we still all work in our own ways.
This year's theme for artists in Port Augusta, Russia, Namibia and Finland is a piece of heaven. Fiberspace artists at Port Augusta's Platform Gallery were busy putting their interpretation of this phrase into fabric today. For Tammy, her piece of heaven has come after a back injury, her piece describing what she loves most.
I spend a lot of time on the recliner, so sitting and knitting and working out a new pattern is heaven to me.
For others, it's the brightly coloured Australian outdoors.
We all are human beings that try to describe our surroundings and what is important to us, and often it is our place in the world.
The pieces will be sent to Finland to join the work of regional women in Europe before they come back to Port Augusta in January. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
A young girl from Mandurah in the mid-north is proving that living in a small country town doesn't stop you from making a mark in the global fashion industry. The 22-year-old will travel to Paris next year for the annual Fashion Week.
From the small country town of Mandurah to Paris. Young fashion designer Torianne created dark-thorn clothing in the studio at the back of her family farm in 2013. Fast forward 4 years and the label is set to be showcased at the 2018 Paris Fashion Week.
They have scouters that go through designers constantly, and picking out and researching a few, and then they stumbled across me.
When she first told me, I thought, must be a scam, with all the scams coming around. I said, go and research it and just see, and then when it come back that it was true, I couldn't believe it. I was just over the moon.
One collection took a year to produce, from designs, fabrics and patterns to finalising the sample product.
She would spend probably a good 6 hours a day down here working on her designs. If not there, she's up in her bedroom still working on designs. She's got books and books of designs that she's already sketched.
It's a representation of myself, so I kind of design what I've always wanted to wear, which I couldn't find. So I've always loved the Victorian era.
Torianne's hoping Paris Fashion Week will help her designer brand grow globally.
So it'll be on the runway, and then I also have a showroom, which is where stylists, buyers and stuff will go to throughout the week to see my garments.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Time to see what's biting around the Gulf now with Fish and Tips.
Welcome to another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips from Port Pirie. It's amazing at the moment, yellowfin whiting, we just start to get a good crack on them, and this cold weather sort of chills them off a little bit, but don't worry, they will be back. So anywhere from Talawi Beach, Maruna Island, have a run around. Don't forget, just look for the ground for the little black holes, you'll find them and you'll get a good feed of them. Blue swimmer crabs are around, there's a lot of females still, so be very careful, we don't want to take them, but you will get a good taste of them. Also, fish for the top feeding fish at the moment, for salmon or tommies or garfish, you'll find you'll have a better run with them.
G'day, welcome to this week's Fishing Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. Well, it's a really strange time of year at the moment. It's hot one day, cold the next, but that's been good for the fishing. The big news, big kingfish, 17, 20 kilos. Matty Lloyd have got a few, also on consecutive days there as well. But also they've been filling up with crabs, so it's a bit unusual to have those two species at the same time of year. There's also been some King George whiting, some salmon. The crabs are out deep. Squid are still around surprisingly, but that's what they've been getting the kingfish on.
Hi, Whalers Fishing Report this week. For the boat anglers, again, some really good whiting down towards Mount Young. A few crabs are starting to crawl into Whaler, but mainly in the deeper water. There's also been a few snook along the foreshore. In about the 2 to 4 metre depth has been the best areas to target the snook, and down towards False Bay there's been some really nice big snook in that area as well. There's some nice garfish down towards the saltworks. For the land-based anglers, some nice big sharks are being hooked out the Point Lowly. Around the Rip area, if you get some balloons out there and some big baits, it's definitely worthwhile having a crack, and some big schools of salmon in the area, and just some nice sized silver whiting coming from the foreshore.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Squid were pretty reliable within the bay. There were patches of smaller squid, so you had to hunt around to find some bigger size squid, but yeah, overall the numbers are pretty good at the moment. Whiting were a little bit slow over the Dodge tide, but there are some fish in the bay. Up along the North Shore and in the northern parts of the bay there are some pockets of fish. Moving over to Coffin Bay, the farm beach grounds have been producing some whiting, but you need to shift around a fair bit to find the fish in that area. And a few nice gummy sharks, just medium sized, were caught in that area as well. Moving over to the beaches of the far west, there were some salmon caught along the Dog Fence Beach, some big salmon too, up around the 5 kilo mark, and a few mulloway around 10 to 12 kilos. That's all for this week. We'll see you with more fishing tips next week.
Good luck if you're heading out on the waters this weekend. Well, up next is Abby with the weather.
Thanks, Fraser. It will be lovely conditions for the weekend before some wet weather. I'll have your details next. Welcome back. Taking a look at the weather now. It was a mostly fine day around the region with a few showers about for Port Lincoln and Adelaide. It hit 23 degrees in Port Augusta and Broken Hill. 21 was the top for Whyalla, while it was slightly warmer in Port Pirie, 22 degrees. On the satellite, thick cloud in the southeast with a low in front causing rain and thunderstorms. Patchier cloud in the northeast with a trough producing showers and storms. Low cloud across the remaining south bringing the odd light shower. On the Gulf waters tomorrow, winds between 15 and 20 knots, high seas at 2 metres with a south-southwesterly swell. The sun will rise at 6:07 tomorrow with sunset just past 8 o'clock. Looking at tomorrow now, it's going to be a gorgeous day for most centres with temps around the mid to high 20s. Sunny for Port Augusta with 26 the top. Fine for Whyalla, Port Lincoln and Coffin Bay with temps around the low 20s. A warm day for Woodner, heading for a top of 27 degrees. It will be fine and 25 in Broken Hill and cooler in Clare with a chance of showers, 19 the top there. So to the weekend and beyond, it's looking like perfect conditions for your weekend plans before a change brings some showers and warmer weather on Monday. Port Lincoln will reach 24 degrees for Saturday and 27 on Sunday. Beautiful fine weather in Cleve reaching a warm 31 degrees before showers on Monday and temps around the 30s for Woodner. Sunny skies will grace Whyalla for the weekend, climbing to 31 degrees by Sunday. Warmer in Port Augusta as the temp rises to 33 degrees for Sunday before showers on Monday. And fine in Kadena, Saturday 27 and Sunday 30 degrees. And finally, fine conditions for Port Pirie, heading for a top of 33 degrees on Sunday before showers on Monday. Sunny and 30 the top for Clare on Sunday. And Broken Hill's heading for a top of 25 degrees tomorrow before the mercury rises to 30 degrees and showers on Monday. So Fraser, it's looking like a sunny weekend all round before some wet weather on Monday.
Thanks, Abby, and that's all the news for this Thursday. Thanks for joining us. We'll have some updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.